Hi there, welcome back. Obviously, a PCBWay box, a pile of components, and what do we get? We got a project. And this is the build video for the interface that I designed to connect a guitar to a tube radio. It's not a new concept. Ordered the boards, they arrived, I got the components together, and let's see what we have here. Brilliant. 10 boards, $5. As you probably know if you watch my channel, these videos are sponsored by PCBWay. And the reason is I like using them because these things always come out brilliantly well. The quality is exceptional. This was a very simple interface, and what it's going to do is it's going to give us a buffer function, and it gives us control of the tone. As you can see here, we've got bass, mid, and treble. The level control. These four knobs, 4 pots, are on this side of the board, and all the other components go on the underside of the board. The idea is that this would be fitted into a project box of sorts, one of the Hammond boxes that I usually use. This was actually designed size-wise to fit there quite well. I've used those boxes before on the pedals, and I want to see how this thing works. So once again, video sponsored by PCBWay. I want to thank them. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to build this and we'll see how we get along. You see? Perfect. This is one of the, these are those PC board pots, bent, 90-degree bends, so they work well. That one goes there. The level goes there. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay, I got a problem here. I didn't give enough space. So that's the first correction I need to do on the boards. I'm going to push it in and pull it down. So that needs more space, so that it doesn't touch up there and short. In fact, I'm going to bend it a bit more. Okay, so I need to remember that. It looks a bit weird. And we need the... What am I going to use here? There was something I needed to change here. I don't have a 10K linear pot. I don't actually have a 10K linear pot for the mid, so I'm going to use 100K. It's used as a variable resistor anyway. So if I put it like that, it means that the first half really gives me up to 10K, and then I can always put a resistor across it. There we go. Just got to solder those guys. And unless I'm mistaken, we're done. This thing is complete. And as you saw, I know this is a sponsored video and I'm saying nice things about them, but they deserve it. These boards came out perfectly. No complaints at all. Now I'm going to connect 9 volts to here. I'm not actually going to connect a battery. This has got the 9 volt DC over here. I'm actually going to connect the power supply. The idea is this thing halves the voltage. These two resistors and these caps create a virtual earth for the op amps to work properly. That's described in the previous video. And we'll be able to test this thing. Alright. Got to put the IC in as well, obviously. Duh. I want to show you why this thing is called prototyping. What's wrong with that? Well, I'll show you. That was the stupidest mistake I could have made. Here's a schematic. What's wrong with that picture? Now, any noob who's worked with op amps, you'll know that the supply on the op amps, especially these op amps, they're pretty generic, is pin 4 goes to ground or negative supply, pin 8 goes to the positive supply. Look what I did here. This is called carelessness. And I did it. I got the supplies mixed up. So what I've had to do is I've had to cut a couple of tracks on the board and reverse them. So as you can imagine, that op amp did not like that. It burnt the op amp. It's actually not that difficult, but it really is a mess. Bloody hell. Anyway, this thing's ready to be tested. I've got the supply connected here from the power supply. I'm giving it 9 volts. Generally, you would use this with a battery or with a proper pedal board supply, whatever you want. I'm just putting it on the power supply because I want to see what sort of current it draws. I've got the output of this goes to those two things, which are going into the phono input of this one, which is the latest restoration I've done. This is the Telefunken Gavotte 55, and this thing had some pretty good sound. I want to see what it sounds like as a guitar amp. And then, of course, we have the input jack, and that's going to go to the guitar. Let's see what it sounds like with my atrocious playing again. Alright, I've got this thing on minimum level. I've got the bass on center, the trebles on center, and the mid is on a quarter, but because this is an analog 100K, that should be about 10K there. So that's 5K. So everything's on center. Put the volume up on the turned on the radio. There we have it. Sounds very good, actually. Right, let's give it some more treble. Makes a hell of a difference. I'm just going to do a couple of strums and I'll play with that as I go along. There's a hell of a range. There's a huge range on the treble. From totally cloudy to extremely bright. Okay, let's try the bass. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Okay. If I give it full bass, hell. How does the mid-range behave? This is brilliant. It's a lot fuller there. I like it. Now the level you'll set really depending on what volume level you've got on the radio. Completely unshielded. If you put this in a metal box, it changes. So the actual radio volume is about halfway. This is a perfect practice amp. I like it. I like it. I'm happy with this. The level control is fine. The bass level range seems to be good. The mid-range, I'd actually leave it as 100 because I think because this is acting as a variable resistor, you're actually just getting a wider range. I don't know if I wouldn't put a 22 or 25 in the case of pots, or a 47, 50K. Probably a 25K is what I would use there because it gives us a bit more flexibility. This is nice. All right. That was the first adventure in creating the interface. The noise level is very low, very low. If you know anything about guitar amps, you'll know that they are generally quite noisy. High impedance is coming in and all that. And then you've got the tube gear probably overdriven most of the time. This thing is not noisy at all. This thing as it is, without that mistake, in a metal box will be really, really quiet. I'm looking at the power supply and I've got a Siglent power supply that has a 10 milliamp resolution on the current scale, and at the moment it's reading 0.00. In other words, this thing's drawing less than 10 milliamps, probably less than 5 milliamps. It's drawing very little current, and it doesn't seem to do much more when I hammer it. It's drawing very, very little current. So when you're, if you're using this on a battery, your drain will be very small. And also when you take out, I don't know if you recall how I designed this, when you remove the input jack, that switch is opened. In other words, the ground is no longer connected. In other words, the battery would no longer be supplying power to this. What happens is when you put this jack in, those two there are shorted by this part of the jack, and power is re-established. So you really don't have to worry about this thing draining your battery if you're not using it. You just unplug it. A little LED would be nice, tell you that it's on. Again, not a problem. I'm going to be adjusting this. There are a few things I want to put in here to make this even a little bit more versatile. Probably a little bit more gain, maybe a gain stage on here. We'll see. I'll be playing around with this for a few days and see. Maybe I can practice some more and start playing a lot better. I haven't played for ages. So I'll see what else I want to put on this thing, and then I'll be doing another board with obviously this correction. That was really stupid. But anyway, that's where we are. And I want to thank my sponsor PCBWay for this sponsoring this video and supplying me these boards, and I'll be doing the new version and going through the same procedure again. So I hope you've gained something from that, just to show you that an interface for guitar for a tube amp is perfectly doable. The sound is very, very good. It's actually incredibly good. I need to try this on one of the other radios as well. This one is a very, very good radio. So the sound is good. I like it. I think it's usable. And if you want to do it, don't mess around with my board yet. When I've got a board that I think is more complete, I'll be sharing it on PCBWay's website so you can build your own. Anyway, that's it for now. If you've liked that, please click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Stay safe.